For this video, I will discuss a few of the questions proposed by Dr. Aragon. I'll repeat a question and then dive into my thoughts for that question. What are your insights? What insights have you gained to assist your thinking about actions you might take in your life related to these topics? I greatly appreciated these last few weeks in discussing with Seth on his insights and personal experiences, particularly his remarks on diverse hiring practices and his experience as a police officer, which I'm sure he will share. These readings and videos touched home for me. I'm from Charlottesville, Virginia, and before the white supremacist rally in 2017, I did not think of race or racism too much, but that event reminded me that race, racism, and white supremacy exist. Racism is a multifaceted, complex social construct that extends beyond individual racism and overt acts. Becoming aware of the entrenched, systemic, and structural imposition of race and racism, and learning it stems from the self-interest of power to maintain a system of advantage for the dominant race has shaped my thoughts and actions to become anti-racist by expressing an idea of racial equality or actively supporting a policy that leads to racial equity or justice. I do not think of myself as racist because I did not commit overt racist acts or covert racist acts. I don't believe I do, at least. However, Kendi asserts a racist is someone through action or inaction who supports a policy that leads to racial inequality or injustice. So in this sense, I am racist. As Tatum says, I may have polluted the air, but I must take responsibility for cleaning it up. To say it's not my fault does not relieve me of my human responsibility to advocate, support, and be anti-racist. Racism is synonymous with America. Our civilization was built on it. The system and structure of America perpetuates racism intentionally and unintentionally through the 4 levels, and I appreciated reading coloring epistemologies because it was the first time I'd been exposed to the term, which can be argued stems from civilizational racism that creates and sustains racist ideas, policies, hierarchies, and inequalities. Theories and practices of knowing have centered on white European American assumptions, experiences, and perspectives, neglecting other racial and social groups, which marginalize these groups, the most dangerous form of oppression. Change must occur at the civilizational and systemic level. Various epistemologies must be embraced. Society and institutions must be reformed, curricula revised, and minority voices amplified to facilitate meaningful and lasting change. How has Kendi assisted you with processing concepts from this book? The most significant takeaway from Kendi is the discussion between racist and anti-racist. There's no thing as being neutral or sitting on the fence. We are either racist or anti-racist. 2 more takeaways from Kendi are the attention to language and power as the root problem. Words have meaning, implicit and explicit, and I appreciate the annotations and notes that accompany Kendi's revision. Kendi changed discovered to came upon when discussing Christopher Columbus's expedition, because discovered speaks an anti-native racist idea and demonstrates how the narrative of white colonists has infected our language. Lastly, I appreciated Kendi's emphasis on power, the self-interest of power as the single root problem. Kendi affirms that economic, political, and cultural self-interest, the accumulation of capital, fuels racist policies, and this is evident in many domains of life, including healthcare, education, and housing, and work. What do you feel is important for professionals in your field to know about these topics? It's important for my peers to grasp the complexity and interconnectedness of race and racism with other identities. The armed forces protect and serve the Constitution of the United States, liberty, justice, and freedom for all. To uphold our sworn obligation, we must be aware of our individual biases, but also our groups, and address racism systemically to create a just, equitable, inclusive, and ultimately flourishing force. I do not recall any training or education on race or racism thus far in my career. The Marine Corps has a professional reading list broken down by rank, and I would add how to be an anti-racist to the junior levels of enlisted and officer ranks professional reading list. I would advocate for education to be incorporated into the Marine Corps' annual professional military education program, and encourage a dialogue to be designed at the basic school where all newly commissioned officers go before reporting as company grade officers in the operating forces. By training the trainer here, lieutenants can teach their Marines about race, racism, and anti-racism. Is there any information from these materials that may assist in transforming the institution or field I work in? Yes, coloring epistemologies has prompted me to reflect on my ways of knowing, assumptions, theories, and practices. I will examine my teaching practices, instructional design, and curricula to ensure that they are not racially biased. Shurik and Young provide 3 consequences of epistemological racism that impact education, particularly curricula. Epistemologies that arise from social histories other than white or European American are illegitimate. Dominant epistemologies distort the lives of other racial and social groups and favor the white race. Much of military training and education is derived from the perspective of America's experiences, assumptions, behaviors, and thoughts. Additionally, military history is often from the European American perspective, the victor's perspective. Limiting our epistemologies to a single race or a few limits our field of vision and opportunities to innovate. There are many useful, legitimate, and credible perspectives from other social groups, and adopting these epistemologies can increase our cultural competence and proficiency. Often, Marines collaborate with other nations, and exposure to new race-based epistemologies can improve our perspective taking and knowledge of other people's cultural knowledge, enhancing our alliance and partnerships. Thanks.